Before I begin, I want to remind you that Irana Nation is now accepting donations. So if you'd like to donate to Irana Nation, go down to the comments section, and at the top of the comments section, there will be a pinned link which you can click on. You'll be redirected to my secure PayPal website where you can donate however amount you wish to donate to yours truly. So another day, another period where the United States is threatening another Middle Eastern country, and this time it is Iran. And Donald Trump is on Twitter going on about Iran is better shut up, don't say anything, we're going to attack you if you blah, 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 blah. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to have more of a refugee crisis. This time it's going to be Iranians who are going to come to America and to Canada and into Europe and to all these other nations. There's going to be more refugee crisis, more American lives lost. America's debt is going to go even higher now, more military debt, and once again, the domestic affairs of the United States controlling the borders. I still haven't seen no wall yet. I mean, they say they're building, but I haven't seen any wall yet. I mean, bringing back jobs, economic nationalism, which Donald Trump is doing, which I will still give him an A on. He's getting tough on China, which I support. That's one of the only reasons I'm still supporting him now. But for the most part, all these other issues are put on the back burner because we have to go and destabilize another Middle Eastern country, all to protect little old Israel and the Zionists out there. His Zionist puppet strings are showing yet again, and you all know my belief on this issue, and I don't give a damn who agrees or who doesn't agree. It is the truth that I speak to you tacky-headed selves. It's the same thing that happened in Iraq, the same thing that happened in Libya, the same thing that almost happened in Syria, but I say thank God for Bashar al-Assad, who stood up to the Americans with the help of Russia, I might add, and Vladimir Putin, stood up to the Americans, stood up to the Israelis, stood up to the Zionists, and said, hell no, get out of my country with your orange self, Donald, and take that criminal Netanyahu with you. You're not taking my country. This is my country here. I'm still in charge here. And I'm going to make sure, and I love Bashar al-Assad. I love Bashar al-Assad. You can kill me for saying that. I will say it again. I love Bashar al-Assad. In Syria, under Bashar al-Assad, this is not an Islamic fundamentalist state. Women are not forced to wear beekeeper suits. It's a free nation, secular nation. You can be Christian in Syria. He's a nationalist. He's a proud Syrian. He loves his people and his country. He's a pan-Arabic nationalist, and I respect him for it. I respect Bashar al-Assad, and he's tough too. He doesn't take any crap from anybody. And if you do try to create crap in his country, he's going to use every gas on the element chart to defeat you. And America will kick up a fuss over it, and they'll try and bomb a few empty factories but he's still in power. He's still in power. He gassed up all them people who tried to get rid of him so that they can have their own fundamentalist Islamic type backward type country, and he gassed them up. Trump threw a few bombs in some empty fields, some empty factories. It didn't do anything. He's still there. So what you gonna do about it now, Donald? Bashar is still there. He won. You lost. You lost. And now you want to go into Iran now. He's tweeting about Iran and they're playing a dangerous game. No, you're playing a dangerous game. You know, many of these people say, oh, we don't want any more refugees. And I don't like the refugee crisis any more than you do. But unlike you, I understand why it's happening. And I know that a lot of the blame has to do with America and the West and the globalists. And the neocons, and the war-hungry individuals, and the Zionists as well, the Zionist rats. A lot of it has to do with them. They go into the Middle East, destabilize these nations because they see a strong Arab leader who is who loves his people, who protects his people, who stands up to the outside world, to the globalists, to the Americans, to the Zionists, to the West. He stands up to them. He says, no, you're not going to influence our nation. We're going to do what we want to do. And if you do try to destabilize or harm our nations, we're going to come after you, and we're not going to be afraid to do so. They see a leader like that. They get rid of him. The nation goes into disrepair. The people suffer. There's a big vacuum. Terrorism all of a sudden comes in to fill that vacuum. The country becomes a mess. There's a refugee crisis, and we, the Western individuals, have to bear the responsibility for it. We do. I think that's the plan, I think that's actually the globalist plan. And I think that's actually the plan of the Zionists, to get all these Islamic people over to Europe and to the West, because their countries are all destroyed, torn up. You get the Christians and the Muslims to start fighting each other like cats and dogs, this and that, blah, 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 Sharia law, yada, yada. And then the Zionists and the globalists and everybody else involved, they just come in through the middle, divide and conquer. That's how it is. And then, maybe another few years from now, when all those countries are destabilized, Iraq, Libya, Iran, Syria, then, maybe we'll create a greater Israel in the meanwhile. So all you Westerners, you can go fight off all them Arabs. The Arabs fight you off, run you over, fly planes into your buildings, and we're just quietly dividing and conquering. That's how it is. Y'all are a bunch of pawns. I'm not going to play that game. I'm telling the truth. And Donald Trump, unfortunately, is playing the game along with the swamp. I mean, it's really, really, really disappointing. The leaders that I like in the world, Bashar al-Assad, Vladimir Putin, I've recently started liking Duterte in the Philippines. Donald Trump, I still support him because he's an economic nationalist. I like how he's punishing China. I like that he's trying to secure the border. But when it comes to foreign affairs, he gets an F from me. He gets an F. F minus, actually. I'm very disappointed in the turn he's taken. He's trying to now start another war with Iran. You guys have to understand that these countries, these Arab countries, before America became involved in the Middle East, they had nothing to do with us. Arabs have been around for hundreds of years. They're an ancient civilization. They're not interested in America. The first time you started hearing about these Islamic terrorist attacks is in the late 70s when America got its nose in Iran with the Shah and all these people, and they started cuddling up with Israel, and then you started seeing these things happen with Iran, and then Lebanon, and then later on with the Iran-Iraq war, and then much later on with the Gulf War, and then they start building bases in the Middle East, and that pissed off all the Muslims. Osama bin Laden got pissed off, and all these people. And I say, we're going to fly a plane into a building, destroy all these, kill a bunch of innocent people, and look where we are now. And then you got all these people, John Bolton, and all these people that Trump has in his cabinet now, who were a bunch of neocons, Rumsfeld and all these people saying, the world is safer without Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi and all these people. This world ain't safer. The world is a much more dangerous place than it's ever been. The world is a much more dangerous, bloodthirsty, and wicked place now with all this stuff happening. And I blame that on America. America created ISIS. America filled in that, created a vacuum in Iraq, and ISIS was created because of that vacuum. Before all these wars, before we got ourselves involved with Israel and the Middle East, the world was a very safe place. You could go to America from Canada using only your driver's license. You could go on a plane, very little searching, very little all this stuff. Patting down, you must be crazy. People used to just walk on the plane. You used to just go on the tarmac, go up the steps, and you're on the plane. That's it. You could bring all sorts of stuff on the plane. You could bring a gun on the plane if you wanted to. You could bring all kinds of liquids. You could bring bleach on the plane. You could bring Ultra Perm on the plane. The world being a safer place, the world is a much more dangerous, unpleasant, bloodthirsty, and wicked and evil place. That's the problem. And for all you people out there who attack me because, I criticize Zionism, I criticize this, y'all can go to hell. Because I know who you are. You guys don't know anything. You're a bunch of uneducated, pauper, hillbillies from God knows where. You got nothing. You got no money in your bank account. You're as poor as a church mouse. You make church mice look like Kanye West or the royal family. And you're talking about, well, I'm unemployed because of the Muslims. And I'm scared because of the Muslims. Well, you know, who brought them here? Why are they here? Ask yourself that. It's because America and to a certain extent Britain, and I would even put Canada in that, because they're by no means innocent either. They involved themselves in a lot of these wars, Gulf War and all these places. And they destabilize these countries, and then these individuals have nowhere to go. So you know what they do? They go to the country that tore up their country. You know, if we didn't attack Saddam Hussein and Libya, and we tried to attack Syria, that unjust war, if we didn't do that, these leaders would be building their country like they were doing. They'd be building their economy. They'd be having economic nationalism. They'd be creating wealth. You think those Arabs would want to come to here? Give me a break. You know, Gaddafi, he was on the verge. Gaddafi and Bashar and all these people, they were on the verge of creating a pan-Islamic nation, Libya, Iraq, Syria, and maybe even Iran. And they'd have come together and they'd have just built, and they'd have had oil and wealth and all sorts of stuff. The Arabs wouldn't give two craps. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. They'd be doing their own thing there, and they'd be secular, non-fundamentalist. You know, all this terrorism. You tried doing terrorism when Saddam was there. He'd have chopped your toes off, chopped you up into pieces, and eaten you probably. Literally, Saddam and his sons would literally probably have eaten you, froze up your body and eaten you. You tried being a terrorist over there. That's what was happening. But because America doesn't like strong leaders who stand up to them, they want a bunch of pawns. Look what they're doing in Venezuela. We're probably going to have Venezuelan refugees soon because that's what America does. They never go into nations and make the nation better. They always go in there, fight, kill, anger the people, create vacuums, destabilize the country. Then we have a refugee crisis and all this stuff. It's the same thing that Italy was talking about. What's his name? Salvini. He was talking about this with France and the colonialist era. And Salvini said France is the reason why a lot of Africa is still poor. And I agreed with him. And people call Salvini a racist. Salvini is probably the least racist individual out there. If Salvini had his way, he would step back. He wouldn't be, with this CFA franc currency. Africa would have the room to have monetary freedom, and maybe if they use their heads in those former French colonies, maybe they'd be powerhouses. So people like Salvini and me and all those people, we want these third world nations. Leave them. I've always said, pretend that the Middle East doesn't exist. We just, you know what? We've had too many problems with the Middle East. Israel, we're no longer going to defend you. We're no longer going to have bases in the Middle East. We're going to close them all. We're going to come back home. You guys don't bother us. We won't bother you. We won't give any more aid to the Middle East. We're done. We are done. You know, and we won't be having these things where like ISIS are created, and you know, ISIS is pretty much an American creation. And then you got all these people who get radicalized on the internet and run people over and shoot people up in airports and stab people up in gay bars and all this stuff. We wouldn't have that. ISIS is one of those things that's going to be very tough to get rid of now. So, you know, and that's because of what we've done. We've opened up the vacuum to having these individuals who come from these destabilized nations, which we've done, and they come here, and many of them are angry either because we destabilized their nation or because they're just radical Islamists, and they know that they can do in America and Europe what they couldn't get away with under Saddam, and they're doing it here now. So there you go. We did it. So if you want more of that, you disregard what I'm saying, and you continue to pretend like you're some kind of Zionist and you think it's cute to support Israel. And you're a fool. You're a fool. You're a Zionist rat. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're a dumbass. You're an idiot. But if you want this to stop, you'll take heed with what I'm saying and you understand what I'm saying and you do your own research and you'll realize that what I am saying and what others are saying is true. This is the Rana Nation.